Hi, everybody. It's Al Gattullo, and no podcast this week. We've got one coming up next week. It's either going to be Wednesday. It's probably going to be Wednesday, folks, on Sports Shouting Radio at sportsshouting.com, obviously because of the fact that the NCAA tournament starts up next Thursday afternoon. So we'll do kind of an NCAA tourney preview show. We'll also talk some baseball and some other stuff. But some thoughts I wanted to get down for you guys to listen to, comment, see, whatever you feel like doing. A couple of things around here in the New York area that have been going on. We'll touch on Mariano Rivera, of course, announcing his retirement. But I wanted to start with football. Obviously, the Giants and Jets making some moves. We'll start with the Jets first because, as usual, these guys can't seem to get out of their own way, even though free agency starts this week. Towards the end of the week, the Jets re-signed Josh Mauga. Ooh, wow. Josh Mauga. Oh, my God. I'll tell you, he's the guy who's going to put them over the top. I mean, we're talking the Jets Super Bowl 48. No problem. MetLife Stadium next season. It's not going to happen. Folks, I don't know what the Jets are doing, but ladies and gentlemen, when the offensive coordinator of the team, Morningweg, now comes out and says, you don't need an accurate quarterback to work my system, it tells you all you need to know, the fact that Mark Sanchez is your starting quarterback for the Jets in 2013. There's 13 million reasons why. And oh, by the way, the coordinator is even saying he doesn't have to be that accurate. Don't worry about it. If he misses if he's 6 of 23, it's fine. As long as 3 of those passes are touchdowns, it's okay. But let's face it, folks. The Jets are a mess. They're going to continue to be a mess. And 2013 is a lost season. I don't think Rex Ryan I think that Rex Ryan will continue to be the head coach of the New York Jets, regardless of what they do this season, unless they go, 2-14 or something like that, and really, basically crap the bed. And then I think he's on his way out the door. But let's move on to the Giants for a second here. Oh, and the other thing about the Jets, Woody Johnson apparently talked with reporters today. They had gone into the city to meet with him, and he basically said, well, I'm not going to talk to you guys until next week at the league owners' meetings. So then why would you call the press in to meet with them to talk about absolutely nothing? It's ridiculous. Once again, the Jets just can't seem to get out of their own way. Moving on to the Giants, some interesting developments on the Giants. Now, the Giants signed Cullen Jenkins, the defensive tackle, formerly of the Philadelphia Eagles, to a multi-year contract. He's going to make some good money. It's a good move for the Giants. I'll tell you why. For some reason, Jerry Reese seems to know the right defensive tackles for this team. He can't seem to get a linebacker or a guy in the secondary, but he absolutely knows defensive tackles. So for me, this is a great move. It also spells the end, obviously, for Osi Umenyiora. He's done. We all knew he was done, but this puts the nail in the coffin. Osi is gone. So Cullen Jenkins is going to come in. He's going to help that rotation, whether it's Kiwanuka moving up from the linebacker spot to play at the defensive tackle or defensive end spot. You've got Tuck. You've got a couple of other players there. Linville Joseph. These are the guys. And now you add Cullen Jenkins to that mix. This is a good rotation, a good line rotation that's going to rotate in and out and make plays. So I'm happy with that. The other interesting development that happened earlier this afternoon, and I'm going to read it to you because I wrote it down. This coming from Bart Hubbock, the great writer from the New York Post, covers the NFL nationally. He's a great guy. You should be following him on Twitter at HubbockNYP, at HubbockNYP. He's outstanding. So here's the deal. John Mara said the Giants had made a very substantial offer to Victor Cruz, which his agent had turned down. This was around 1:32 o'clock this afternoon. Okay? They tendered him a contract, meaning that if they lose him, they'll end up getting some picks back for him. Then Mara said Cruz wants to test his value in free agency. And according to Bart Hubbock, the Rams could make a play for Cruz. We find out about an hour later from Mike Garafolo, who writes for USA Today, that Cruz ended up switching agents. Now, my opinion was, and still is, Cruz is not going to be a Giant next season. I feel like the Giants aren't going to overpay for the guy. So basically it's, hey, this is the deal, take it or leave it. Cruz, who apparently was a little miffed about this from his agent, that his agent turned down the offer, turns around, gets rid of the agent, and then gets Tom Condon. Now, for those of you who don't know, Tom Condon is Eli Manning's agent and is Matthias Kiwanuka's agent, among other players in the National Football League. But isn't it interesting that he gets rid of his agent, gets the guy who represents Eli? Let's just use Eli for the example here. He gets the guy that represents Eli. I think they went back to the Giants, hat in hand, and said, hey, by the way, is that offer still on the table? Because we might take it. Now, I think that he's going to test his worth in free agency. I think Victor is making a big mistake. He's a good receiver. I don't think he's a great receiver. He's not a great receiver yet. He's had a couple of good seasons. He's done reasonably well at the money that he's at. I don't think he's going to get this shoot the moon type of money. I think he's selling himself a little short here. And I don't think the Giants are going to overpay to keep him. I think Tom Condon's going to go to them and say, look, this is what I feel like my client's worth. Giants are going to say, we think he's worth this much. Take it or leave it. So I think that Bart Hubbock makes a great point. The Rams could be in play. The Vikings could be in play. They lost out on Anquan Boldin, which is, to me, the Ravens. He wants to be a Raven for life. He's their leading receiver. He's making $6 million. The Ravens go, see you later, pal, and ship him to the 49ers for a 6th-round pick. That's a steal. Now, apparently the Vikings offered a 7th-round pick, but apparently that wasn't enough. So he goes to the 49ers. Anquan Boldin is gone. That is an unbelievable move. It's a great move in that division because now, obviously, the Steelers don't have to worry about facing Boldin. It's a fantastic move for both sides. The 49ers get a quality receiver. So, obviously, Mario Manningham didn't work out too well for the 49ers, and Boldin is certainly an upgrade from Mario Manningham. So it's an interesting development there. Now, do I think that Victor Cruz is going to be a Giant next season? Absolutely not. I do not think that you see Victor Cruz as a Giant next season. They want to keep Hakeem Nicks. They'd like to keep both of them, but not at the money that Cruz is probably asking for. So I think Hakeem Nicks stays. Cruz is going to be gone. I think they're going to use that money and spend it elsewhere. They need to upgrade at linebacker. They need to upgrade at secondary. They're asking guys to take pay cuts, and I think guys are doing that. They've got to upgrade the offensive line a little bit. They still need to get a running back because let's face it, they got rid of Bradway. And I don't think that, Wilson is the – I think Wilson's the every down guy, but they need another guy to spell him. So I think we're going to see what happens here with the Giants in free agency. And I think if Cruz isn't going to take that money, Cruz is, and go elsewhere, I think they're absolutely going to spend that money and use it wisely. Now, shifting over to baseball, let's talk about 2 things about baseball. First, Mariano Rivera, okay? He announces his retirement over the weekend. Guy has 608 saves going into the season, a lifetime 2.21 ERA, which will obviously go up or down depending on what he does this season. This is the greatest closer in baseball ever. Hands down. There's nobody comes close. Nobody. He is the guy. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. If this guy is not in the Hall of Fame on the first ballot, there is something wrong with the voting process. To my knowledge, he's never taken steroids. He's never taken performance-enhancing drugs. Guy is money when he comes in. 95% of the time the guy's in the game, game's over. Doesn't matter. There have not been that many people who have gotten key hits off of Mariano Rivera in the late innings. Okay? He was a luxury, ladies and gentlemen, for Joe Torre. He is the reason, one of the reasons, why Joe Torre was as successful as he was. Okay? Hands down. I this argument, Brandon Tierney, good friend of mine, does the CBS Sports Network show in the morning, 6 to 9 a.m. It's TB, what is it? Is it TB? I'm trying to figure it out here. Dana Jacobson, TBD in the morning, I think that's what it is. I don't remember. Anyway, regardless of that, okay? The bottom line is, Brandon had posed this question the other day. This is my reasoning, behind everything. Sorry, folks, as I'm getting a little circular here and, going all over the place. But whatever. If you're still here listening, watching, that's fantastic. Okay. So Brandon had posed a question the other day. It's 1996. You've got to pick one of these guys to start your team. Is it Jeter or is it Mariano? To me, it's Mariano. Jeter is a great player, don't get me wrong. Another guy who should be in the Hall of Fame and will be, okay? But to me, without Mariano, you don't win those World Series. For all the accomplishments that Derek Jeter has had, if you don't have Mariano there in the ninth, those World Series aren't there. Now, granted, I understand that Mariano didn't close out every game and, whatever. Okay, fine. All right. But Mariano was the key. Why do you think he's got 608 saves? He put them in positions to save games, to win games. 608 saves. That's 608 wins. Okay? That's the reason. Derek Jeter has won games, single-handedly for the Yankees, but not at the consistency that Mariano Rivera has. So if I was starting a team, Mariano is certainly the guy that I am picking first. Because let's face it, how many other closers are out there now in baseball that have been doing it for the length of time that he has? The guy still's got it. He still has it. He could pitch another 2 years if he wanted to. He's putting really no strain on his arm. All right, he blew out his ACL. Now to me, that's the bigger question mark for the Yankees with this upcoming season. What happens if Mariano gets hurt? Now, I addressed this morning on the Paul Nano Show on Fox Sports Radio 1410. Do the Yankees have a viable backup? Is it David Robinson? Is it Jobber Chamberlain? We don't know. And they're going to have to test some people. Now, I think if Mariano, let's face it, folks, I think if Mariano starts slacking in the beginning or something happens where he strains a little bit and he's not as loose as everybody thinks that he's going to be, Joe Girardi's got a decision to make. I think he's got to maybe sit Mariano for a bit, and he's got to try one of these guys out. Whether it's Jabba, whether it's David Robinson, whoever it is, he's got to give them a stretch of games and say, all right, the closer job is yours for the next 5 games. We're resting Mariano. You're the guy, whether it's April, May, whatever. Now, again, since the Yankees are going to have a lot of key guys out, you got no A-Rod until July at the earliest. Granderson is out. Teixeira is out. Both of those guys are out until May. The early part of the season is where they're going to have to make their impact. They're going to have to win a bunch of games early, okay? Because if they fall too far behind in this American League East, I don't think they're going to have the horses to make it up. Let's face it. The Yankees are a much aging team. They've got aging guys on this team. And again, I don't think there's no guarantee right now that Alex Rodriguez is coming back in July, okay? Everybody says he's on target, this, that, and whatever. But you have to go into the season with the knowledge that there's a possibility that Alex Rodriguez doesn't play an inning for the Yankees. Now, the Yankees would be happy about that from an insurance point of view. But if you don't have A-Rod, now you're missing a bat in the lineup that can hit some home runs. You're missing Granderson's bat, who led the Yankees with home runs last year. You're missing Teixeira's bat, who can hit home runs. So you're missing guys that can hit home runs, and you're going to have to play small ball. So you're going to have to win games 2-1 and 3-2, and that's why you need a guy like Mariano, and that's why he's so important. And if he can't go, who's the guy that's going to replace him? It's a big question mark for Yankee fans, folks, and something the Yankees really need to look at and look at closely. And I think Girardi needs to take some time right now in these next couple of weeks before the season starts to test some guys out and see if they can handle it. That's just me. Now, the other flip side on baseball, the World Baseball Classic. This is the biggest joke going. It is time to get rid of it. Who cares about this game? I certainly don't care about it. I haven't watched an inning of it. It is worthless to me. Okay, if I want to see the best players in the world, I'm watching it in Major League Baseball. I'm watching it in the World Series. Okay, I could care less about the Dominican Republic and Cuba and this team and that team and Japan and whoever. I don't care. This is ridiculous. Italy and this one and that. Abolish it. Get rid of it. Guys are getting hurt. It's a waste of time. There is no point to it. We have an All-Star game. We have a World Series. We don't need to see this nonsense. I'm sorry, but I have a major problem with the World Baseball Classic. It needs to be abolished, and it needs to be gotten rid of immediately. Nobody cares about it. Who's watching it? Folks, if any of you out there are watching it and enjoying it, please comment when I put this up, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever. Please comment and tell me if you're watching it and if you enjoy it or not. Now, moving on to the Knicks. Maury Stoudemire, he's got to get knee surgery. He's out till mid-April. You got Carmelo Anthony hurt. Is it time to hit the panic button for the Knicks? They're out on the West Coast, big 5-game road trip. They've got to come back at 500, or this is a problem, folks. Mike Woodson's got a problem with this team. They may not make the playoffs. Maybe they drop out. This is a big problem for the Knicks. And if Carmelo doesn't play in this West Coast swing, I think you have to be genuinely concerned at this point. Because now you've got no Amari until mid-April. Okay? Now you've got to see what you got out of Kenya Martin. You signed him. You got him. Now you got to use him. Okay? So this is going to be a problem if Carmelo doesn't come back. Now, if he plays tonight and he plays consistent minutes and he plays during the West Coast trip, okay, fine. They win a few games, they come back, all right. But if he doesn't and he's out this entire road trip, okay, Knicks fans, you need to worry. And you really seriously need to worry because, again, Amari, another knee, another problem. They're saddled with this guy's contract. It's ridiculous. The Knicks have some problems, folks, and I don't know if they can necessarily connect them. All right, coming up next week, it'll be Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, the Sports Shouting podcast with yours truly, Al Gattullo. Please, I hope you comment on this as you see fit, to borrow the line from the great Lionel. And we'll talk with you next week. Again, a big NCAA show. The brackets will be all set, be ready to go. We'll already have the play-in game on Tuesday, so we'll know and locked in who it is. We'll, of course, we'll try and get Benjamin Lee Eckstein. We'll get the lines for you from America's Line. We'll get a college basketball expert. We'll talk some baseball. We'll have a lot of fun. And, of course, free agency in the NFL starting up this week. So, obviously, guys are going to be moving around and heading to different teams. We'll talk all about it next week on the Al Gattullo podcast. Coming up next Wednesday night, that would be the, that'll be March 20th, folks. March 20th, 7 o'clock Eastern, the Al Gattullo podcast on Sports Shouting Radio at sportsshouting.com. I'll be there. Hope you are too. Take care, everybody.